So this is a follow-up to my last video because I wanted to read some quotes of hers and prove how this is not an example you want to follow, and prove how what the nursing profession does is they word something around her being such an idol. No, she is not. She's the opposite of what a nurse should be. Now, you can argue with me if you want, if you're some nurse out there that wants to say, no, we would have more baby. Like, nobody should be deciding. I'm not so against abortion that I think people that are raped or incest, I think there should be exceptions. But this, she was promoting, because of being tied to the eugenics and your Bill Gates types, wanting to seed the gene pool. They were racist. So the very fact that we have a nursing organization forever now that's been setting the standard of care, and it's over time gotten worse, and well, of course it would. They support and highlight this feminist activist. That's really what she was just some political radical that's handing out pessaries, you know, contraceptive devices back in the day. Okay, she's not even a doctor, and yet it was all to these poor societies. Her quotes say it all. So it started because of the elites, the wealthy. They would go to fairgrounds and promote eugenics and the health exhibit, showing the gene pool and how if you're alcoholic and it'll pass, or what, all these different, you know, the science, okay? So it started here. Then it went to here, to where they would have clinics there on site where they were doing their promotion of eugenics and do these exams of the children, and they made it into a contest because the elites believed in survival of the fittest. Yeah, because God forbid they, you know, just not, and they were deciding. That's the sickest thing. Like, those are not the people that should be deciding anything, most especially whose family is the fittest. This is one of the fitter families for Georgia. So this was really, you could see it as, you know, like what your public health was like back in the day. This is how they, you know, were really, and then you had your, you know, later your public health coming into the communities, deciding you need to go into some TB camp for 6 months, even though you feel totally fine. Like, all of it, just because it comes from roots of twistedness. Social problems have proven bans on heredity. Yes, so they started promoting this in the paper, of course, everywhere. This was when your science started taking root and deciding that they would become the arbiters of truth, right? They would be the experts. They know best. And people trusted them because they didn't know how twisted these people were, that really they were practicing eugenics, the same thing, because eugenics, it came from here. Yeah, they did it in the Holocaust on a mass level, but it came from here. That's the reason why the military-industrial complex let so many of those doctors come back here that did the most worst, horrible experiments and things to the Jews and others, not just Jews, others during the Holocaust. And the eugenics mindset really is that the socially inadequate class, regardless of ideology or prognosis, are the following: feeble-minded, insane, including the psychopathic, criminalistic, including the delinquent, the wayward, epileptic, inebriate, including drugs, diseased, including tuberculosis, the syphilis, leprosy, and other chronic. This is who they deemed as we shouldn't let them reproduce. Now, were they able to sterilize everyone? No. But this is much of the reason why they took people off to TB camps, right? Because that's what they did. Go look on National Institute of Medicine's YouTube channel and find it. Go back to some of those old videos. I've talked about it. I would say it was the biggest waking moment for me was watching that, because it's from National Institute of Medicine. How the public health nurse comes into the community because they learn of a new family in town, and they go and they meet the family and make all nice, and then say, you know what, we better get you a checkup. And then the mother, oh, there's a shadow on the lung. We better get you to the TB camp because you must have TB. But the woman who has 3 children at home feels totally fine, doesn't want to go off to a camp for 6 months, but then goes to some camp where she's put in like military, like, well, not military, but where all the women are wearing the same things, doing calisthenics, but then a bunch of time just laying in bed, but feels fine while her family's at home. Talk about a great way to use science to tear the family apart. And what is science doing right now? Doing a great job at trying to tear the family apart. You can't tell me they don't know that what the design here is by pushing transgenderism on children is because it will tear families apart. Because that's the strongest structure you have is the family unit. It's always what sickos like this want to destroy. Then it's easy to take the country over. Yep, the legacy of American eugenics. So it's been around forever. And Margaret Sanger, the hero that American Nurses Association put in their Hall of Fame, these are some of her quotes. But for my view, I believe that there should be no more babies. Yes, quotes. That was an interview with John Parsons in 1947. The most merciful thing that the large family does to one of its infant members is to kill it, end quote. That was 1920, from her book, Woman and the New Race. We don't want the word to go out that we want to exterminate the Negro population. Yes. So that was a letter to Dr. Clarence Gamble in 1939, because she was part of the Negro Project. Yeah, the Negro Project. I should have mentioned that. Yeah, so when American Nurses Association says, oh, we're sorry for our racist ways, well, then you really shouldn't have Margaret Sanger. You shouldn't still be using her nursing, you know, highlighting her as a nursing policy or some great woman, should you? No, I don't think so. But then you haven't changed. The Negro Project, instigated in 1939 by the Margaret Sanger, was one of the first major undertakings of the New Birth Control Federation of America, the product of a merger between the American Birth Control League and Sanger's Birth Control Clinic Research Bureau, and one of more controversial campaigns of the birth control movement, developed by white birth control reformers who consulted with African Americans for help in promoting the project only after, well after, its inception. Yes, that's the reason that they put most Planned Parenthoods in the poor neighborhoods. Now, they'll tell you something else. No, it was strictly because they want less of that population. And given that African Americans are the people that have the gene pool that's been the most hurt by that, it helps serve the elites, the Margaret Sangers, the people that American Nurses Association highlights, while they be the biggest hypocrites in saying we want to apologize for our racist ways. Well, you're still racist, so you're really not sorry, are you? A couple other quotes. I accepted an invitation to talk to the women's branch of the Ku Klux Klan. I was escorted to the platform, was introduced, and began to speak. In the end, through simple illustrations, I believe I had accomplished my purpose. A dozen invitations to speak to similar groups were pro-offered. Yes, Margaret Sanger. I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically delinquents, prisoners, and all sorts of other things, just marked when they're born. That, to me, is the greatest sin that people can commit. Yep. That was an interview in 1957 with Mike Wallace. Here's the thing. Who the hell is she to decide who's a marked person because she thinks she's an expert the same way those experts at American Nurses Association think they're experts? No. Completely misguided. Shouldn't be in nursing.